government of Maharashtra. That's what he is, a very high officer coming from IFS. And yet you will find him very easygoing. Uh, I know him for last 10 years or more, but I have never, ever thought that he was a very highbrow, high-handed officer. He is very hardworking and yet very easy with his staff, and not easy in the sense of discipline. He is very disciplined. And when he was, we know him better because of because of his period with the SGNP. When he was here as a conservator of SGNP, we knew him up close, and he was very welcoming for all the students and teachers who visited the SGNP. I never knew that he is such an active person until I saw rest of his achievements. He did his IFS in 1990, so past, well, 30 years of service, and that's what the forest has been, really in him, and he has been in the forest. They are almost one. There is one more thing I would just like to mention. If I start talking about him, it will take 5 more minutes. I don't want to, usurp his time. He has a lot to share with you, but I must tell this, that when he was working with the Sahyadri project as a conservator officer in Radhanagari, Sagareshwar, Koina, Chandoli, Medghat, all these forests he has been to, and he has been part of its management. But at the same time, he was very strict about the illegal activities in all these places. He was instrumental in stopping the illegal bauxite mining in Radhanagari. He was also very strict about the encroachments in SGNP. But at the same time, he is very sensitive about the tribals or the native population, the autochthonous people in our forests. In SGNP, he tried to involve all the forest dwellers, the tribals who were in SGNP. And then I came to know that this is not a new thing or new first for him. He has been doing that even in the past. When he was in Amravati, Aurangabad, he did a lot for the tribal people's children's education. And he also introduced the barefoot doctors in those very far off regions. We had a new act of forests in 2006, but we have noticed that we have experienced that at many places, many forests, the forest officers were not so sensitive. They still, followed the same, the old traditions of stopping the tribals from using the forest produce, but not Sunil Limaye. He was really very sensitive about them, and not just tribals, but he also did a lot of work for the Pardi community, with whom even people like the very urban people are also very afraid of the Pardis, but not Sunil. Sunil, I'm really very happy to welcome you here. And we had 15 days ago, we had your lecture on this same platform, but then many people said, we want his lecture in English, and there we are. We are here again. We are requesting you to deliver the same lecture with some more additions and some more interesting slides in English. Thank you, Sunil, for coming here, and the dais is yours.
Thank you, Mugdha, for your nice word. Namaskar, all my friends. And I'm sure that today is a Sunday evening. So after a nice heavy food of Sunday afternoon and then quite a good siesta, you all are alert. So what today I have decided, last time I spoke around 1.5 hours when last time we had the same session in Marathi. Now I have decided I will not speak for 1.5 hours, but I will restrict my lecture to 50 to 55 minutes. And then we can speak. Let us have some dialogue so that we can understand many things. That is always better. If you ask me some questions, I will able to answer them. Because if I continue talking for more than an hour, it will become a monologue and no one will be much interested in that. So I think let us start. This is the first slide that I have seen the APCF Wildlife West where I work. Mugdha has said a lot of good things about me. At present, I am working as Additional Principal Chief Conservator of Forest Wildlife, West Mumbai. In fact, we have some regions in Maharashtra for the wildlife management, and which are controlled by 4 additional PCCF wildlife. We report to the Chief Wildlife Warden, who is called as the PCCF, that is Principal Chief Conservator of Forest Wildlife. So there are 4 APCCF. One is APCCF looks after Vidarbha region. He sits at Nagpur. Another APCCF exclusively looks after Melghat area. He sits at Amravati. I am APCF Wildlife West. I am looking after Western Maharashtra and Marathwada, and I sit at Borivali, that is Mumbai. And one more additional PCF there who exclusively looks after mangrove area, and he sits at Mumbai also. So we are 4 APCCF who are reporting and assisting Principal Chief Conservator of Forest. So now we will go ahead about today. From science background or who are not so sure what exactly ecosystem is. So ecosystem is a biological community of interacting organisms in their physical environment. So what we have heard is it's a community, biological community. It is made of the organism which are living as well as non-living, and they interact with each other. So today we'll talk about those ecosystems. And I think everybody is aware of the forest, especially Supreme Court has given a clear-cut indication what does forest constitute. So it is a tract of land where we find grass, herb, and shrubs, that is called as forest. But there are some interesting points. So before I go ahead, I would like to clarify it. Many times, if you see a good green area with lot of tree cover, but legally it may not be forest. Nowadays, you are aware about one thing that is called the RA colony, especially people, those who are living in and around Mumbai, that RA colony is a forest as far as every layman is concerned. But
Is your network unstable? Sunil, you are stuck. Hello?
Ma'am, I think his network is unstable.
Yeah. It seems there is some problem with his network. Shall we wait for some time? We shall.
आपण डायल करीत असलेला नंबर यावेळी व्यस्त आहे. कृपया थोड्या वेळात.
तुझं नेटवर्क खूप वाईट आहे बहुतेक. तो व्हिडिओ या आणि व्हिडिओ बंद करून बोल. So that bandwidth वाचेल तेवढी.
Right.
Yeah, yeah. Okay. He's trying to do something about it. Let's wait for 5 minutes patiently. I'm sure he will do something about it. And I have told him not to use this video so that bandwidth is saved. Host, how many people were logged into the Facebook link? Have any idea?
No, ma'am. I'll check and let you know.
Yeah. There also you may leave a message.
Okay.
Good.
Mugdha, am I visible?
Yes, you are visible, but you may shut down your video so that little bit of bandwidth will be saved, even if
Okay.
your Wi-Fi is weak. You
Okay.
we can hear you, so no problem.
Okay. Okay. But now, are you able to see me and
Yes,
even
yes.
the presentation
Your
also?
screen is visible, absolutely clear, no problem, and we can hear you.
Okay. Okay. That's fine. So, shall I go ahead with now?
Please, please, please.
Yeah.
Do. Thank you.
So I don't know how much you heard me. I was talking about the ecosystem and then forest.
Yeah, that's it.
Yeah, some green, lot of tree cover is there, but legally they may not be forest. The best example that one can understand is our RA area. And there are certain areas which you won't see any forest. Those are the open area. Those are the lateritic plateaus. But it's quite possible they may have been declared as reserve forest or forest by some notification under the prevailing forest laws. So that is the main thing. If you go to Ratnagiri area, if you go to see the petroglyphs or the lateritic plateaus, you may say that there is no blade of grass, no trees are there, no shrubs are there, but still that's a forest area because it has been declared as a forest. So when we talk about ecosystem, before going that, everybody has seen this now, COVID-19 pandemic, everybody has experienced, everybody has seen a lot of things. And see, whenever we do certain things, when I talk about the ecosystem, I always remember it is the nature, that the nature is supreme. And all of you have understood during last 4 to 5 months that it is a nature which is regaining wildlife that is very happy. When all of us have been locked down in our own homes, we cannot go out. Animals, wildlife, birds, they are really happy because when I go to Sanjay Gandhi National during this year, now people are not going there, no tourism is allowed, but everything is fine there. And now we are, why I'm telling you all this, why I'm saying that nature is supreme, because you can see a very nice example over here. Whenever we do something, we plan to do something to last it forever. When we want to construct a building, we see that it should be there for at least 50 years. When we want to plan our career, we see that at least next 30 years, we should not have any problem. Our career should be nice, but that is just not possible. So nowadays, I can say today's mantra is don't plan to last, plan to adapt. Now here you are seeing a picture, you are seeing a bridge, you are seeing a river. I don't know how many of you have read about this. But now I will go and I will tell you how this bridge is known as the bridge on the river Coluteca. Coluteca is a place in Honduras. So what had happened? A nice bridge was constructed with the help of Japanese technology. Best of the engineers of Japan, they had gone to Honduras. They had a meeting in the Honduras capital that is known as Tegucigalpa. And they said, we have the fantastic machinery, we have got a fantastic technology. So we can plan something to last, we can build something to last. And they were not about the fury of the nature or the might of the nature. So they constructed a bridge across the Coluteca. That was a very nice bridge that was thrown open to the public in 1998. Everybody was happy. Many people from Honduras and other places, they drove from one side of the Coluteca River to the other. They say it's a fantastic bridge. But what happened? In the same year, in the October, a hurricane called Mitch that hit the Honduras, and there was 75 inches of rain in 4 days, which normally Honduras received in 6 months. And what happened? The road connecting to the bridge and road leaving to the bridge, that just got washed away. Bridge was there because that was a fantastic technology. But nature played a big role, and the road connecting, that was destroyed. The river which was flowing under the bridge, that river changed its course, and now you can see this picture. So I always tell the people, whenever you want to plan something, don't plan to last. Nowadays, you have to decide and you have to plan everything so that you will able to adapt to the nature's might. So always remember, nature is great. This ecosystem, this everything, what we're going to talk, the forest of Maharashtra, is everything depends on the nature. If nature is good, if we take care of the nature, if we respect the nature, if we respect the ecosystem, then everything will be fine. Now, when we talk about the ecosystem can be pretty small because what we require there is living organism and as well as the non-living environment. Many of you know there are 4 types of ecosystem. One is called as artificial ecosystem created by we people. When we live in a big city, in a metro, that's our own ecosystem. So that's the artificial ecosystem. Another is natural ecosystem, and there are 3 parts of the natural ecosystem. One is the terrestrial ecosystem where we do live, and another is that depends on the water. That is called as, one is called as lentic, and another is called as lotic ecosystem. Lentic ecosystem is the ponds, puddles, lakes, all these where there is no flowing water. That's a lentic. And lotic means rivers, then estuaries, the inland water is coming inside, all the flowing water, that is called as lotic. So lentic and lotic makes the aqueous, then we have got terrestrial, and another is the artificial. So today we are going to talk about the ecosystem, which is terrestrial, that is our forest, and another is lentic and lotic. Those are our wetlands, those are our rivers, those are our ponds. Now we know that the total area of the Maharashtra is 307,000 square kilometers. Now the science says, or ecology says, or the scientists, we have worked in the forest, we have worked on the ecology, we have worked on the climate change. They say at least 33% of the geographical area of any place should be under tree cover. Remember, there is a difference between the word called as forest and tree cover. All the tree covered areas need not be forest. Because if you go to Mumbai, I always give the example of Sanjay Gandhi National Park, that's a forest area. But if you go outside Sanjay Gandhi National Park, if you go to the film city, if you go to the RA colony, that's a non-forest area, but the area having tree cover. So we need to have tree cover, that is 31%. Now, forest area of Maharashtra is more than 50,000 square kilometers, that roughly you can say 17%. And if you take the tree cover of Maharashtra, that means the area like Film City, then RA, and so many other areas, our tree cover goes up to 21%. So now if we want to increase our tree cover up to 33%, what is the simplest thing that we are supposed to do? We have to plant more number of trees and we have to increase our tree cover. Howsoever many trees you plant in forest area, the forest area will remain same. Because wherever there is a degradation of forest, you can plant the trees and you can augment the forest. You can increase the density. But you cannot increase the geographical area, because unless and until you declare some more areas as a forest, our forest area will not be increased. So what is the best thing? The next best thing is to plant the trees wherever you have got the land availability. Road side is there, railway side is there, whenever lakes are there on the boundary of the lakes, wherever canals are there on the both side of the canals, wherever you find the area, if you get to see the agricultural lands, lot many type burns are there. Sometimes people, especially farmers, they keep some fruit trees on the burns. But if you cover all the burns with the bamboo, with the fruit trees, with the acacias where it is required as a fuel wood, we can definitely increase our tree cover. You are aware that Forest Department of Maharashtra, and that is the government of Maharashtra, did a good thing. And last 3 years, we planted around 50 crores of trees. Planting, yes, that was quite good. It was done, but more and bigger responsibility on us and we all people is to save that plantation area. So now if we decide how to increase our tree cover, so one rough estimate says we will have to plant at least 400 crores of saplings to make our tree cover of Maharashtra to 21%. So that is the reality. So what I suggest to the people, if it is possible for you to save our ecosystem, the best way is to go and plant the trees, plant the saplings. That is possible. But if you can't go and plant the trees, at least see wherever trees are there, you are required to save those trees. Always you see wherever if the tree cutting is taking place, immediately contact the forest department. What we have started is we have got a landline number that is 24/7 available. That number is 1926 and that's our helpline. If anything is happening regarding the forest, if you want to ask any question, if you want to give any suggestion, if you want to alert the forest department, definitely you can go on 1926. So this is how the forest department is also working to save our forest, to save our area, to save our wildlife. Now we'll go a little bit ahead and always remember that the river Telusca, what happened in Honduras, how the nature is great. If the nature becomes furious, just we can't do anything. So whatever the ecosystems are there, those are the natural products. You live upon this, leave aside this artificial ecosystem. We are just talking about the terrestrial and aquatic, that is lentic, lotic, and terrestrial ecosystem. We will have to take care of that. Before we go to the ecosystem, I would like that everybody of us know about there are certain state symbols which represent our ecosystem. And you must be aware there is animal, that animal is state symbol of Maharashtra, that is Indian giant squirrel, that is called as Ratufia indica. The bird, which is the state symbol of Maharashtra, is yellow-footed green pigeon, which is called as Pteror phoenicopteris. We have got a butterfly. That butterfly is known as blue marmon. So that is Papilio polymnestor. We have got a flower. Many of us have seen that violet color, indigo color, very nice flower. Now it is in flowering. That is called as Jarul, or it is also called as Tamini. It is known as Lagerstomia speciosa. This is also called as pride of India. And everybody else there, which is our state tree, that is mango, that is called as Mangifera indica. Recently, there was a meeting of State Wildlife Board and it has been decided just that people should understand the importance of mangroves. We have decided there is a very nice tree, it is called as Sonortia alba, or it is called in Marathi as Pandri Chipi. Now that has been declared as a state mango tree. So there is animal, there is bird, there is butterfly, there is flower, there is tree, and one more addition is that is state mangrove tree, that is called as Sonortia alba. Now I already told that during COVID-19 situation we have seen that nature is powerful, much powerful than us. And I already said that when we were locked down in our homes, nature was happy, blossoming, regaining. So we need to plan much in advance just to understand the nature and try to adapt. I'm sure now everybody must have decided once this lockdown is, when we'll be once again on the roads, when we'll be celebrating, we'll be enjoying our festival. We should remember that we hereafter will have to plan for how to adapt according to the nature. Now let us come to the biodiversity of Maharashtra. Ecosystems part is a biodiversity. What is biodiversity? In Marathi, it is called as Jaiva Vividhata. Or a simple word has been given in Marathi that is called as Jividhata. Now this Jividhata, this biodiversity is all the living organisms that you find at a particular place. So if you think of the map of the Maharashtra, distinctly we have got some parts. We have got Vidarbha, we have got Khandesh, we have got Marathwada, we have got Western Maharashtra. But when we think about the biodiversity, that is the part of the ecosystem, normally we say the Maharashtra has Northern Maharashtra, that is Vidarbha area. We have got Western Maharashtra, that is the typical Western Ghat area. Then if you go to the Marathwada and the eastern part of Pune, Satara, Sangli, Kolhapur, that becomes Deccan Plateau. Then then now we have to think of this lentic and lotic ecosystem. So then there is the coast. When we think about the coast, it is the marine ecosystem. And then fifth is the rivers and lakes. So rivers is called as lotic ecosystem, and the lakes or ponds and puddles, they are called as lentic ecosystem. Now, when we see what this ecosystem or these biodiversity spots they consist of, Northern Maharashtra has a primarily large tract of deciduous thick forest. So if you think of Chandrapur, if you think of Gadchiroli, if you think of Bhamragad, what we see is the deciduous thick forest. What is deciduous? When there is a leaf fall during the month of summer, that is April, May, June, most of the trees will shed their leaves. And when the monsoon sets in, again, they will have the green leaves. So those are the areas of teak. Another species that we find along with the teak, it is called as ain. Then a lot of bamboo are there. Bamboo is a grass, actually, we can't call it a tree. But bamboo and teak tree, those are the main species of the Northern Maharashtra teak forest. When we come to the Deccan Plateau, that is the second biodiversity spot or ecosystem plot, Deccan Plateau consists of large semi-arid grassland ecosystem. If you think of Pune area, Nagar area or Solapur area, you can see that we have got certain protected areas. One is called as Supe, that is near Pune, which is famous for Chinkara. We have got Rehekuru, that is famous for blackbugs. Then we have got this Nanas area. Once upon a time, it was famous for Great Indian Buster, but nowadays you can find wolves over there and very few Great Indian Buster. I can say 2 Great Indian Busters are there. Most of the time they will in Usmanabad area, then Solapur area, then Nagar area. Then third important hotspot of biodiversity of the ecosystem is the Western Ghats. And what it has, lots of cliffs, lots of, you can say, mountains or hills, lots of plateau and ridges. And ridges and plateau are the specialized habitat of these Western Ghats. If you come to the coast of variety of forests, such as a mangrove forest, I said now Sonarshia alba is the chippy, that is white chippy. It is called as mangrove apple also. We have got Rhizophora, rival species there. We have got Avicennia. So a lot of species are there. Then the rocky and sandy shores are there. It has got a separate ecosystem, separate lifestyle is there, separate animals and birds are there. And when we come to the rivers and lakes, that is lentic and lotic ecosystem, many birds are there. It is mainly dominated by the birds. At the same time, mammals are also there. Now here, if we come to the first ecosystem of Northern Maharashtra, what we find here is it is a dry tropical forest, and that is called as a deciduous forest. Now, what kind of things are there? So dry teak areas are there, mixed teak areas are mixed, then it's a moist. So whenever the good rainfall is there, if you go to the Gadchiroli, the forest of Gadchiroli, Gondia, Bhanda, where a lot of bamboo is there, that is called as a moist deciduous. If you go to the Wardha area, where our boar sanctuary is there, that area is called as dry teak bearing forest. Then what kind of fauna you found in this Northern Maharashtra? See, most important, there is a top predator is tiger. We have got chital, we have got sambar. As far as birds are concerned, sparrowhawk is the most important species. Reptiles are there. Then dominant spider species, that is wood spider is a big thing. Now when we come to the Northern Maharashtra, you know Vidarbha is the tiger capital of Maharashtra. So tiger is the most important animal over here. And when we talk about the fauna of the animal at the apex of ecosystem, the tiger. So if we conserve this tiger, that means we have conserved the ecosystem. But do you think that the tiger conservation is easy? No, it is not easy. Because challenges in conservation of tigers in Maharashtra, that was quite a difficult thing. But forest department, state government, central government, everybody worked in tandem, and the figure of tigers in Maharashtra is now more than 300. It is 312. The total tiger figure in India is just touching 3,000, that is 2,967. But when I said there are different ecosystems in Maharashtra, the northern Maratha ecosystem and the Western Ghats, the challenges in conservation of tigers in Western Ghats is pretty difficult. Now, what the theme of, say 29 July was the International Day for the Tigers. And this year's theme was their survival is in our hands. But I don't agree with this. What I will suggest is, theme should have been our survival is in their hands. Is in their hand means is in the hand of the tigers. That is in the paw of the tiger. Why? Because if we conserve the tiger, if the tiger numbers is pretty good in the particular area, if the tiger's number is up to the carrying capacity of the area, then we can say the forest is good. Because if the tiger is thriving, that means herbivore population is pretty good. And if the herbivores population is good, that means forest area is fine. Grassland are there, forest area is there, lot many herbivorous animals are there, and tiger is feeding on them, and all the herbivorous animals, they are thriving on the grasses and the leaf litter. So if tiger number is good, we can say forests are good. Now, if you come to the Western Maharashtra, see in Maharashtra, we have got 6 tiger areas. Those are called the Project Tiger areas. Everybody is aware about the Tadoba. Everybody knows Melghat. Everybody is about the Pench, Navegaon, Nagzira, and then Bor. And one more tiger bearing area is there in Maharashtra. That area is called as Sahyadri Tiger Reserve. Those who know about the Western Maharashtra, they are aware our Chandoli National Park, and in Satara there is one more sanctuary, this Koina Sanctuary. They form this tiger reserve. It is more than 600 square kilometers and has more than 500 square of area as a buffer area. So the total area is about 1100 square kilometers. That's a really good forest area. But total number of tigers in this area is not more than 6 to 8. And the sighting is pretty poor over here. Why it is poor? Because Koina and Chandoli, they don't have any source population of the tiger. That means no resident tiger is here. All the tigers, they come from the south, and the best possible source area is the Tilari. Tilari forest is partly in Changad area and partly in Tilari area, that is in Sindhudurg and Kolhapur. So what we have decided, we now decided that we should conserve the tigers in Western Ghats. Now, how to conserve? Because there are certain challenges, and just talk about these tigers, because without tigers, we cannot complete our ecosystem. Now, if you think of the Western Ghats is spread over 6 states: Gujarat, Maharashtra, Goa, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, and Kerala. It covers the distance of around 1,500 kilometers along the western coast. And what Karnataka has is the 20,000 square kilometer. Maharashtra has the 17,000. Kerala is around 10,000. Tamil Nadu is around 6,900, 7,000 square kilometers. Goa is having around 1,461, and Gujarat is around 500. So what is more important? To save these Western Ghats. If we save this Western Ghat, if we save the forest of the Western Ghat, then definitely tigers can be saved and tigers can be conserved. See, conservation is a word where it includes preservation as well as its extension. That is, you have to preserve a thing, you have to grow that thing, and you have to take the benefit. So we need to do the conservation. Now, many people used to ask me, sir, whether really tigers are there in Western Ghats. Yes, tigers are there. What here you see is the dropping of the tiger. In technical term, it is called as the scat. So when we think about this area, Radhanagari, then Chandoli, Koina, Tilari, that means it is Satara, Sangli, Kolhapur, and Sindhudurg. We see, yes, presence is there, tiger presence is there. We have got this cat everywhere. We have seen the rake mark, that is the marks of the claws on the trees. Wherever we have set up camera traps, we have seen tigers in that. So tigers are there. And the genetic analysis of the scat, wherever we found the scat, we did the genetic analysis, and it has been completely proven that yes, the scat is that of the tiger. So what we will have to do to save the tiger? Now, first we'll talk about little bit about this International Tiger Day. See, everybody knows that Tiger Day means just to raise the awareness about the tiger conservation. We have to promote the protection of natural habitats of tigers. So now, which are the natural habitats? I said the ecosystem or biodiversity areas. That's in northern Maharashtra. Yes, tigers are there. In Satpuras, yes, tigers are there. In Western Ghats or Western Mata, yes, tigers are there. So all this area or the natural habitat of the tigers, we will have to protect. Now, how we can protect? Either we can call them as conservation reserve, that we can make notification under Wildlife Protection Act, and we can call them as conservation reserves, or we can call them as sanctuaries, we can make them as national parks, and later on we can declare those areas Project Tiger areas. So Global Tiger Day is celebrated to raise awareness, to promote protection, and to support the tiger conservation. How it started? On 29 July 2010 at St. Petersburg in Russia, 13 tiger countries, like all these our Asian countries, then Russia, India, Bangladesh, Nepal, wherever we find the tigers, those 13 tiger countries, they decided to increase the current population of the tigers to the double of that by 2022. So when it started in 2010, Maharashtra's tiger population was around 1400. And we have already reached a mark of 3,000. That means we have achieved the target. But internationally, no, it has not been achieved, because internationally, the tiger population now is 3,900. In 2010, it was 2,400. So we have to achieve this target. And for that purpose, India will have to play a big role. And that role we are already doing. Now, if you say when there are more tigers in Vidarbha area, because the tiger population of Maharashtra is more than 300, out of that, more than 250 tigers, they are there in Vidarbha area only. Chandrapur district itself has more than 160 tigers. So what we can do, where this tiger can be shifted? Can we shift these tigers? Yes, we can shift. That is called as conservation translocation. So what we can do, so wherever this excess number of tigers is there, that means when the tigers are there more than the carrying capacity, we can shift these tigers. Normally, see tigers, those the cubs, they stay with their mothers till their age of 2. Once they reach this year, they try to find out the new areas. Male tigers, they try to disperse away from their mothers as soon as they attain an age of 2 years. And the females, they stay with their mothers, but they also try to find out the new areas, or otherwise, if they are mighty and powerful, they will dislodge their mother from their own area and they will grab that area. And when they will grab the area, there will be infighting between the tigers. So when tiger goes outside their own area, when they enter the human territory, actually they are entering the human territory is not the right word, because we have already grabbed the territory of the tiger. We have already encroached upon. We have already entered into the forest area. So once again, this tiger and the wildlife and the nature, they are trying to regain their own areas. So the conflict will be there. But there are certain areas which have been found out by the Wildlife Institute of India. And in the last State Wildlife Board of meeting, Honorable CM of Maharashtra, he also said, yes, if we want to conserve, we want to do the translocation, if we want to do conservation translocation, find out the better areas where these tigers can be translocated. There are 4 areas now which has been selected on a primary basis by the Wildlife Institute of India. Those are Gadchiroli, Navagaon, Nagzira, that is already a tiger reserve. Then one more area is Penganga. The Penganga is in Yavatmal. And one more area is Chaprala, that's a wildlife sanctuary in Gadchiroli. And the 5th and major area where tigers can be shifted is our Western Ghats. So we can think of shifting the tiger to the Western Ghats. But there are certain problems in Western Ghat areas. And what we'll have to do, we'll have to find out the appropriate habitat for the life stage of release of all the tigers. That means if you release a tiger at the age of 2, then you need to have good habitat for the tigers. You need to have good prey base for the tiger. Then adequate place to stay for all their seasonal habitats. Then these areas should be large enough to meet the required conservation benefits, because you cannot leave tiger in a small area like 10 square kilometer. Area has to be at least 150, 200 square kilometer. And it has to have an adequate connectivity to suitable habitats. That's what I said earlier. If you think about the Western Ghat, if you think about the Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, that is Koyna, Sandoli, then this area goes up to Radhanagari down below in Kolhapur. From that, the area goes up to Tilari. So that's a beautiful area. Down below Tilari, you enter into the Karnataka and Goa. Madehi Tiger Reserve is there. Kali Tiger Reserve is there in Karnataka. So all these areas good. So what I can say, or what WI said, that STR, that is Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, has all above qualities for conservation transmission of tigers. That has more area, so conservation transmission can be done. So when government will take a decision to remove the excess tiger from the Vidarbha area, Sahyadri Tiger Reserve is the best area. So now we have decided to find a solution for ensuring viable tiger population in few core areas and link them through tiger compatible landscapes. Hence, maintaining the forest connectivity between tiger populations and adding new areas. That means declaring more areas as conservation reserve or sanctuary or national park is very required. Then augmentation of prey population. Where prey population less, what tiger needs are the cheetahs, sambars, goat. So we have decided we will have captive breeding of these animals, and then we'll do the soft release and then the regular release. And third one is to remove the tiger from Vidarbha areas and bring them back to the Western Ghats. So if we do all these things, then it will be fine. So now once again from the tiger to our regular ecosystem. Now see, many people, they are dependent on the forest areas, they are dependent on the ecosystem. Now if you think of first of the ecosystem or the biodiversity area is in northern Maharashtra, that is a teak forest. Now if you think of the Maharashtra teak forest, northern forest, then there is Vidarbha, that is eastern Vidarbha, then that is western Vidarbha. Now if you think of the western Vidarbha, that is western part of the Vidarbha, we obviously think of the Melghat. And most important tribal of those Melghats are the Korkus. So Korkus, they are in the Melghat. They are the son of the soil. They do a lot of good things to preserve the forest areas. And whole survival of Melghat forest depends on these Korkus. And at the same time, if you think of the eastern part of the Vidarbha, then you can think of the Gonds of Chaprala. Chapra is a nice area, good forest area where tigers can be relocated. We are thinking about relocation. And these Gond tribal people, they are the part of northern Maharashtra. And what they do there is they save the forest, they live in the forest, they have their own sacred shrines, and in the name of the god, just like our Devras in western Maharashtra, they protect the forest area. Then from northern Maharashtra, if we come to the western Ghats, the base of our forest is evergreen forest. Then semi-evergreen forest, we can think of Mahabaleshwar, we can think of Azra, Chandrad, all this western part of Maharashtra. Then there is semi-evergreen forest. We can think of Pasgani, we can think of Matheran. Then there are lateric plateaus, Ratnagiri, Sindhudurg, these are the lateric plateaus. And if we think of the forest of Satara, Sangli, Kolhapur, then part of Dhulia, that is the moist deciduous thick forest. So these are important forest areas. And the most important thing over here, other than the forest, is the lateritic plateaus. Many times people think on the lateritic plateaus nothing grows, but that is not true. Many endemic and endangered flora that you are seeing, that on the right hand side, the small picture, 4 plants are there. And on the right side, what we are seeing, that plant is called as Freria indica. And you can find that plant in a particular area, that of Satara, Kas Plateau area. Then there is Abutilon. So very endemic plants are there. And it's a lovely forest area. If you come to these lateritic plateaus during month of monsoon, that is late monsoon in the month of September, especially after Ganpati, then the best example you can see is the Kas Plateau. It is totally full of lot of good flowers. All these are ephemerals. They come in a particular season and they will die. And they will come in next year only. So ecosystem of Western Ghats is the most important ecosystem, I will say, because it is ephemeral. In a particular season, in particular area, only all these things will come. Now, if you think of the important animals, now here you don't find that a tiger is the most important because very few tigers are in our Western Ghats. But leopard is a predator over here. Leopard is the main animal. You can see the gaur. Many times it is known as what we call a gaudas. In Marathi, it is also called as gaureda. English word is there, bison, but bison is not the correct word because we don't get bisons. We get bisons in Europe and America. Here it is gaur. Leopard is another main predator. Then we have got barking deer, we have got sambar. Then we have the giant squirrel, a beautiful animal, and that's a Maharashtra state animal. We have got this racket-tailed drongo. We have got sand boa. All these boas, it is called as mandul also. So people think that's where you see the mandul, you will get the Guptadhan. But that is not true. Mandul or sand boa is very nice, very simple. That means we have to conserve that snake species. We should not kill that snake species, or we should not keep that snake species captive in our home. Pythons are there, Atlas moths are there, tree frogs are there. And what we see here is a trapdoor spider. It's a beautiful, nice spider that you can see if you come to Sanjay Gandhi National Park. You can see this lovely species, which is known as the trapdoor spider. Then another important is culture of Western Ghat. What we do, we have got the things called as sacred groves. And if you come to the Mulshi area, all of the Western Ghats, if you go to the Radha, then Ugwai Devi is there. Very good sacred groves are there. And here the trees, shrubs, herbs, each and everything is preserved by the local people in the name of the local deity. So all these people, especially I have shown one photograph, Skatkari people, they are totally forest department. Or the forest department, not depend on the forest department, but they are dependent on the forest. And these people only, if we help them, if we preserve their culture, if we conserve their culture, they are going to help the forest department in conserving the biodiversity and forest of the Western Ghats. Then what is the unique system of the Western Ghats? All these hill ranges in the Western Ghats, they are very important. They are the hotspots. Why they are hotspots? If you see the topography, all the rugged steep western escarpment with the typical crestline spurs and plateau tops of laterite and basalt. See, basalt is the main rock. Then after the leaching of silica down below, you can see the tops, they are made of iron, and at the same time, it has got many other minerals. But the main mineral you find in laterite is the bauxite. Bauxite is ore, and from bauxite, what you get is importing, that is called the alumina. So topography is the most important thing. If you see the hydrology, it is highly varied hydrological feature, lot of cascades you can see during this monsoon. Climate, high precipitation in a short period. Everybody knows that Mahabaleshwar reaches 4,000 to 5,000 millimeters of rains, but I think very few people know there's a place called Patharpunj that's in Koyna. Last year, Patharpunj received around 15,000 millimeters of rains. So very high percentage of precipitation is there. Ecology, if you think about the ecology of Western Ghat, it's a complex ecosystem of varied forest types. Many forest types are there, many species are there, then fauna, flora, but at the same time, what is problematic about the Western Ghat is the threats that the Western Ghat is receiving. Development projects, dams, ports, roads, mines, township. So people want everything in Western Ghat. Everybody love to be in the nature. Everybody wanted to stay with the nature. But at the same time, under the name of development, everybody want to disturb and destroy the nature. And that is the biggest problem or biggest threat that we are facing. And forest department has to do a lot of things. Even state government has to do a lot of things to save our unique Western Ghats. Now, if you think about the conservation initiatives that we have taken in Western Ghats, are the protected areas. Protected areas are the areas declared as home for the wild animals under the Wildlife Protection Act. Another thing that we are doing is we are declaring certain areas around these protected areas as ecosystem zones. So ecosystem zones are the buffer zones declared around PS under Environment Protection Act. Conservation initiatives, protected areas, those are the national and sanctuaries, they are declared so under Wildlife Protection Act. While eco-sensitive zones, they are declared under Environment Protection Act. And the third most important thing that doesn't have any legal background, but very important thing are the corridors. And corridors mean the such areas which will connect two forest patches or two protected areas. So corridors are most important. When I was talking about saving the Western Ghats and then how to conserve the tigers, when we see the map, if we see from Chandoli, Koyna, when we go to Radhanagari, then we have to preserve that area between Chandoli and Radhanagari. That area is called as corridor. From Radhanagari to down below Tilari, if you want to preserve that area, the area in between these two protected area is called as corridor. And to conserve the biodiversity, we will have to protect these areas. Now, if you think of the lateritic area or another thing was the Deccan Plateau, we saw Northern Maharashtra, we saw Western Ghats. Now these are the Deccan Plateau. That is also most important thing. And what we find here, We find semi-arid grassland as a thorny forest, but it is the mosaic of grasslands, scrubland, and thorn forest. Babul, Acacia nilotica is the most important species over here. And all these thorn forests, they support animals like chinkara, which survive on less water. But at the same time, if you come here during the rainy season, this is the rainy season, and this is the high time you should visit areas like Supi and Rehekuri. And these are the grasses, herbs are the most important components of this regional ground flora. Other important animals here are the wolves. And I said this is the great Indian bustard. And some places you can find the lesser floricans also. Now you can see the picture. As the grassland are changed to other forms of land use, the habit of these animals is lost. Sugarcane, horticulture industry, and many dominant industries, they are changing the landscape. So which animals are in danger now? Wolves, they are in danger. Blackbirds, they get killed. Great Indian bustards are there. Once upon a time, a very huge population was there, but now there are only 2 surviving Great Indian bustards in our area. Buzzards are there, kestrels are there, sand grouses are there, calotes are there, snails and beetles are there, and all of you know, everybody loves this animal to see is the fan-throated lizard. That is most important. It is seen at many places wherever solar wind farms are there. So we'll have to save this grassland. Care is being taken by the forest department. Wherever we do the plantation, we plant very less trees in this area, and mainly these areas have been set aside for the grassland plantations. Now the culture, because whenever we talk about this ecosystem, what is the culture of the Deccan Plateau? The most important nomadic community here is the Dhangar, and they are the proud owners of the sheep and goats. All these Dhangars migrate from Deccan to Konkan coast following the availability of grass. Now it is rainy season. All these Dhangars, they are here on the Deccan Plateau. Once the rainy season is over, all these Dhangars, they will go down to the Konkan. And these Dhangars, they take care of one important animal that is called as wolf. Many times forest department pay the local people when their cattle or their livestock is attacked by these wolves. But Dhangar people, they never come to the forest department. They never ask for any kind of compensation because they think that is their culture. They say the wolves will always come with us. And whenever weak animals, the weak animals are there with them, all these wolves, they will attack on the sheep and goats which are weak, and the wolves will kill them. So whatever the good animals are there, those animals will only survive and they will go along with the Dhangars. So Dhangars and wolves, they are inter-department. We had made one project is called as Ovitla Landga, because Dhangars, they have got their folk song called Ovis, and in that Ovis, they think wolves as their friends, and they say wolves should be conserved over here because wolf is the most important predator in this area, and all these biodiversity and interconnected things, they are dependent on the wolves. So see, this is our culture. In our culture, it has been mentioned that all the animals, plant, people, they should live together very happily. So these are some of the pictures of the Dhangar community. Then if we think about this lentic and lotic ecosystem, then we have got this aquatic ecosystem, wetland, spring, you can see a lot of springs are there, dam catchment areas there. Especially if you go to the Vidarbha, very big dams are there, very big river basins are there. So that's a typical ecosystem. If you come to the Western Maharashtra, then you can see the wetlands of Nandur Madhmeshwar, which has been recently declared as a Ramsar site. You can see the riverine ecosystem, all the inland rivers, wherever you go, you can go to the Zayakwadi, you can go to the Yuzhny, you can go to the Bhigwan area. These wetlands, you can see the Bhigwan backwaters of Ujni. It's a big wetland area. And from the month of September, October, November, December, you can see a good amount of bird life over there. Then the fauna of this wetlands and aquatic ecosystem. See, aquatic, what is the threat? Aquatic systems are being rapidly converted to other use or being affected by the pollution. And what are the animals or birds over here? Here we got this river tern, then we have got great flamingos, we have got lesser flamingos, we have got steels, we have got painted ducks, we have got painted straws, frogs. Few days back, there was a news that one bird which flew from Seychelles Island that had come to Vasai, and the distance was around 3,300 kilometers. Unfortunately, because of exhaustion, that bird died, and that was brought to the Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Now, we did the taxidermy, and we are preserving that bird that is called as sooty tern as a trophy in our national park. But we see certain birds are there. They are typical of the oceans and islands only. They cannot survive to other ecosystem. So if you want to save this bird, those ecosystem, those islands in the oceans and islands in the inland river system will have to preserve. So that's a big task for we all people, and especially for the forest department. Now, always we see that wherever there is an ecosystem, there is a cultural diversity. Now, if you come to this wetland ecosystem, that is river and other things, lakes, pond, wherever you go, see, community fishing is the most important thing. Even if you go to the marine ecosystem, or if you go to the lakes, pond, dams, the Kodi people who live there, they are totally dependent on the community fishing. But over harvesting of the fingerling, that is really creating a problem. Fisher folk are the ecosystem people. They take care, but because of the greed, because of the pressure, because of the commerce, now they have started over harvesting the fingerlings. And every time forest department has to take the initiative, we have to go to the people. We have to tell the people, if you want something for your need, yes, always it is there in the wetland ecosystem. But if you want it for your greed, that is really creating a problem. Inland wetlands that are formed with the backwaters of dams have become lucrative fishing cooperatives. But these fishing cooperatives, when they go after the greed, they are creating a problem. So it is our duty to tell the people, community fishing is fine, but over harvesting of fingerlings, that should not be done. And we are trying our level best to save this cultural diversity. But at the same time, if you come to the marine ecosystem, what we have got? We have got sandy coast. You go to the Ratnagiri area, there's a particular place, I love that place, that is called as Bhogwe. You see white sand is there, and that itself is a different ecosystem. You go to the Rocky Shore, that's a different ecosystem. Go to Ratnagiri area, see there are few small forts. Ombalgad is there, Punagad is there, Ratnagad is there. You see all these are rocky shores, but there's a lovely ecosystem exists over there. Then forest is there, mangrove is there in the coastal forest area. And coastal agriculture is very important. What you get over there is the rice, Nagli, Varai. You can get rice, Nagli, Varai in our Western Ghats also. You can see all these things in Sindhudur, you can see in Ratnagiri, in our Koyana area. But the variety of the grains, variety of the rice, variety of the Nagli, and variety of the Varai, that's totally different in coastal agriculture. So that purpose for the people, for its culture, we'll have to save this ecosystem also. Then what are the problems over there? In marine ecosystem, overfishing, just like as inland water ecosystem, overfishing is a major factor of depletion of all types of marine fauna. And what is the marine fauna? We have got prawns, we have got snails, we have got octopuses, we have got jellyfish. And if you want to save each and everything, telling people about the importance of all these animals and ecosystem, most important thing. Maharashtra government 8 years back has formed a mangrove sale, and mangrove sale of Maharashtra is doing a fantastic work. We are giving a lot of opportunities for the local people to do the business in the prawns culture, in the snail culture, in the jellyfish culture. And now people have started understanding the importance of the ecosystem, and at the same time, they have understood how to save this ecosystem and how to get benefits from this ecosystem. So this is, I will say, as far as Western Ghat is concerned, Western Maharashtra is concerned, it is the most important ecosystem is the marine ecosystem. Now, why it is so important? Because in marine fish has a valuable source of protein, but at the same time, overfishing and fish prices have escalated as catch is diminishing due to trawling. When the trawlers go inside the sea, that really creates a problem. So why we tell people, don't go in trawlers, don't do overfishing, but have small fishing boats. Because if you go in small fishing boats, whatever you want for your survival, that you will get some benefit, fish will be there. We always say, don't fish during this period. Because when we have got this custom also, before Narali Purnima, we never go inside sea because the sea is rough. This is the spawning time. And now people have started understanding all this. So small fishing boats and the fishing with the small fishing boat that we are promoting. We are telling people with the large trawlers, please don't go inside because they destroy the mangroves as well as the breeding ground of the fish. Now, what are the other special sites of conservation? So these are the ecosystem. I say Northern Maharashtra, Western Ghats, then Deccan Plateaus, then our this marine ecosystem, inland ecosystem. But there are certain beautiful forest patches. Those are the part of the ecosystem. So I would like to tell about these unique forest prison plots. So there is a place called Glory of Allapalli. If you go to that Allapalli area, you will see the teak trees to the height of 40 meters, 45 meters like that only. And it's a beautiful forest area. And that has been declared as a unique forest patch and is important to preserve this area. Then Khas Plateau, that is also very important. Ephemeral, all plants are there. Khas is a very nice area. It's a World Heritage Site also. Then another is a Lonar. Lonar is a unique geological site because Lonar Lake is a saltwater ecosystem created by a meteor impact during the Pleistocene epoch. Another is the Amazon crater, but Lonar crater is the most important and that has now been declared as a sanctuary. Then most important is, I should say, the sacred groves because it's a unique traditional biodiversity conservation practice in Western Maharashtra. And what are these sacred groves? We call it Marathi as a Devrai. Sacred groves are the patches of intact vegetation preserved by local people which constitute important gene bank. So gene bank is the most important. Lot of varieties of today's whatever we eat as a rice, varai, nagali, then even our wheat, everything that you can find, all these wild varieties, especially rice, varai and nagali in these Devrai areas. So our main aim in Western Ghats is to protect this sacred groves with the help of the local people. And that's why we have decided to have these areas as typical, traditional and unique site, which will be preserved by the Forest Department in total. Then if you think about the culture of Western Maharashtra, the unique art of Warli tribal people, if you go to the Warli area, go to the Thane, go to Murbad area, go to Palghar area, beautiful paintings they have got, very nice paddy field. They do the paddy cultivation. They talk about the forest area. They talk about the local deities. And these people really save the forest areas. And Warli people has contributed to a great extent. Many Warli people, they stay inside Sanjay Gandhi National Park. Most of the workforce of the Sanjay Gandhi National Park consists of the Warli people. Then these are the certain areas what we see in the Western Ghat areas. If you go to the Bhimashankar, is the most important place in Maharashtra. The Bhimashankar Wildlife Sanctuary has been notified as a evergreen forest sanctuary. And the most important animal that you found in Bhimashankar is the Malabar giant squirrel. And see, other sacred groves are there, evergreen forest is there, tribal villages are there, a sacred place which is the important Jyotirling of India, Shiva temple is there. And what are the problems? Yes, problems are there. Tree felling. Tree felling creates a problem because giant squirrel needs very large and very tall trees. So that is one problem. Development activities, because some development activities for the people, yes, they are required and they will have to be done. But certain things, especially big dams, those are not required over here. So government is also taking due care while doing any kind of development project in the Western Ghat areas. In any case, we are trying our level best to preserve and conserve this unique sacred site, that is the Bhimashankar Wildlife Sanctuary. Now, there are certain things and which are creating a really problem and real havoc on these ecosystems of Maharashtra. You think of Northern Maharashtra, Western, everywhere. And what are these problems? The wilderness and wildlife is seriously impacted by development. I will not say every development is creating problem, but when we think that development is more important than the forest, then that really creates a problem. So every time we see this area, government also takes a proper decision. We always consult the Wildlife Ministry of India. We suggest the mitigation measures. Everywhere mitigation measures are suggested and they are followed whenever a particular development activity has to be done. So, but impact of rural industrialization, forest loss, big roads, big dams, then this traditional hill slope agriculture, then rock burning, then if we have uncontrolled tourism, then if we start disturbing the plateau vegetation, it really creates a problem. And it's a big task for the forest department to take care of all these things and to preserve the biodiversity of Maharashtra. Now, other than these ecosystems or biodiversity areas, we have got certain eco-sensitive areas also. And out of this eco-sensitive, a few areas I would like to tell. One is the Dahanu. It's a coastal area of importance for its forest cover. and horticulture protected against land use change and power plants. Dhanu, you must be remember the chiku, that is actually sapota. So Dhanu is a most important ecological sensitive area of Maharashtra. Matheran is also there, highly threatened forest part due to the construction and excessive tourism business. That's a Matheran's problem. We have got Mahabaleshwar and Pasgani, because highest rainfall in the Western Ghats supports specialized evergreen hill forests and plateaus of great floral endemism, but they are being damaged by the rapid urbanization for tourism. And Forest Department and state government is taking a lot of care to have proper ecotourism in this area. And how we are going to protect this? So already under Environment Protection Act, it has been made compulsory to have all protected areas surrounded designated as 10-kilometer ecologically sensitive areas around all national parks, wildlife sanctuary, and such ecologically sensitive areas. Supreme Court has also said by default it has to be 10 kilometers. Then have an expert committee to decide whether 10 kilometers is enough or you want to reduce it or if you want to extend it. So every such area which is ecologically sensitive has been declared as ecological sensitive areas under Environment Protection Act. And this is the best thing that the Maharashtra government or government in power that is doing, because we have to conserve all this area. And that is also a big task before the Forest Department. Now you can see some of the pictures of our area, our forest, our ecosystem. Most of the pictures are from Western Maharashtra, Western Ghats, because everybody is aware that during the monsoon, it is heaven only, and these all forest patches and ecosystem that we are supposed to conserve. So these are the areas under my jurisdiction. These are some of the areas where this water conservation works have been done. We call it as Shivkalin water conservation system. These are the places of the Western Ghats. You can see the Rajmachi. So this is the area where we're going to the Mahuri during this monsoon season. And all such area we are recorded. See now this area, this is forest. In the foreground, you see the good forest. But in the background also, whatever the area is there, that is also forest. All these are basaltic rocks. You see a good vegetation over there. It's a part of the protected area. It's a part of the Harishchandragarh sanctuary. And we are required to protect such areas. So this is the beautiful forest of Western Ghats. These are the forts. Chhatrapati Shivaji Maharaj had taken a lot of interest and lot of things he has done for the protection of the forest area as well. So this site is called as Tigalwadi Fort. It's in Ghoti area. This is the place where we normally go. We see these such areas. We protect these areas. Then this is Pavangad area. This is a small fortress just before Panhara. And all such areas have been protected by the Forest Department by declaring such areas eco-sensitive areas. And this is the forest officer standing on the top and thinking of how to protect the forest. And one thing is sure that only Forest Department or only the state government, they cannot protect the forest area unless and until you people, we all common people, common citizen, common person of this Maharashtra and India, we decide, if we decide, yes, everything has to be conserved. Because we know that all the things that we get from the nature, they are good for our need, but not for our greed. So now let us decide, if once we come out of this COVID-19, once we come out of this pandemic, once our regular life starts, we should take an oath and we should help the Forest Department to conserve the forest and ecosystems of Maharashtra and that of our India. So I will stop here. I think I have spoken for at least 1 hour. Now, if you have got any questions, any doubt, any suggestions, please let me know. So Mugdha, will stop here. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. There are questions already in the chat box. Can you see the chat box, please?
Just will check. Huh? Otherwise, can you read for me so that I will able to?
Sure, I will start from the first then.
Yeah, please, please.
What steps are taken by MH Forest Department, Maharashtra, Forest Department to increase forest area in Marathwada region?
Yes. See, in Marathwada area, regular plantations are being taken. Last year, so we have taken a lot of plantation in Marathwada. And we have got a eco task force. So all the retired, most of the retired personnel from the army, they have done a fantastic job in Uttarakhand and Himalaya. So we have constituted a force of them. And last year, more than 100 hectares of the plantation was taken in Marathwada. That is thriving pretty well. At some places, we have done some kind of Miyawaki plantation in certain areas. So plantation and soil moisture conservation, these are the two activities that we have started in Marathwada to increase our forest area.
What kind of steps are being taken to control
Your
concretization?
voice has gone.
My voice is gone?
Now it is fine now. Once you are audible, yes.
Okay. What kind of steps are being taken to control concretization in the fragile Western Ghat ecosystem? For example, hotels being constructed at Prabalmachi on the base of
On the base of Kalawan.
Kalawanti.
No, the same thing I told, because everywhere, if you want to do, especially in this ecosystem area, if you want to do any construction activity, you'll have to take the permission from the certain authorities. And I will check what's happening over there in Prabalmachi, you said at the base of Kalawanti, because if it's a private area, yes, people, they go and construct the hotels, but for them also, under this ESA, they will have to take permission from the appropriate authorities. So we'll check what exactly happening over there. But lot of checks are there by which we are taking due steps so that unwanted or unnecessary construction or concretization will not be done in Western Ghat area.
Pollution of Pune city and surroundings is causing damage to ecosystem of Big One backwaters. This February, I personally saw thousands of dead fish on the shores of backwaters. What is being done to reduce the pollution of Mula and Muta?
Yes, that's very true, because the people of Pune, definitely they are quite aware, and Maharashtra Pollution Control Board, they have taken a lot of steps, many places action have been initiated against the polluting industries, and proper action is be taken under Environment Protection Act against all these polluting industries. It will take some time because it's a big thing. Taking action under Environment Protection Act also involves many things. Many things are there, a lot of court cases are there, NGT is there, but yes, Maharashtra government is aware and Environment Department is taking due steps to curb all these kind of pollution activities.
How one can develop one's own forest in their private land? Is there any policy designed by government? Please enlighten.
So, I'm not getting your question. What you want exactly? Just 1 minute. Can I?
He wants to develop his own forest,
Okay.
system or something.
Okay.
Is
No,
there
this is okay. That's fine, because wherever you want to develop your own forest, we call it the restoration. If earlier forest was there, yes, we will call it as a reforestation. If forest was not there, is own land, go for the plantation of local species. We have got a department. It is called as Social Forestry Department, isn't it? So you go to the Social Forestry Department, headquarters of the Social Forestry is in Pune. Our local officers are there. Every district has got one divisional forest officer who look after the work of social forestry. And Social Forestry is suggesting people what to plant on their own land, which are non-forest land. So they will tell you, go for this. I will always suggest, go for some kind of fruit trees, say mango, neem, jackfruit. These are the important trees. But wherever you plant anything, 50% of those trees should be from the ficus family. Bargad, Peepal, Temburni, these are the ficus trees. So 50% should be the ficus trees and 50% should be the fruit trees. And you can have your own forest in your own land.
There is some complimentary comments. Sir, what about EIA Act? Government has to think about it too. Yes.
The government is thinking, EIA is there, anyway, assessment is being done. And whatever now central governments want to do, if you think that there is some problem, certainly go and register your objection. Central government will take a call on it.
Do tigers of Sahyadri roam around towards Konkan region? Do we observe any presence of tigers in Ratnagiri, Sindhudurg near the coast, like in tehsils like Tajapur, Lanja, etc.?
No, we don't have any proven record of tigers over there, but yes, tigers are there. But in Sindhudurg, I said Tilari is a source population. There are more than 14 unique tigers recorded in Tilari area. Ratnagiri, we are not sure because we don't have any photograph. So we don't have any proven record. But yes, people say, because people know they call as wag for leopard also. But for tiger, they say patteri wag. So many times people say, sir, we have seen patteri wag, but we don't have any proven record. But yes, tigers are there in Konkan area.
Sir, can you elaborate on the habitat features of black panther?
See, black panther is not a totally black species. It is called as melanistic panther. When the percentage of melanin increases, it becomes black in color, but still you can see the rosettes on the black panther. Wherever there's a thick forest is there, high rainfall intensity is there, you can see black panthers. So Dandeli, Kali area of Karnataka, even in parts of Koyana and Chandoli, where dense and thick forest is there, you can see the panthers which are black in color, and they are called as melanistic panthers.
Is there a fungal disease based tree die-off in Western Ghats?
What?
No, I didn't get his question. Fungal disease-based disease of which trees die off in Western Ghat. Fungal disease ka aayega.
No,
A
see,
separate question is on if whether we will have a continuous forest cover again from Tamil Nadu to Kerala to the north. Is it actually sensible?
sensible is there. See, all the way you cannot have the forest cover, but we call it as a corridor. When particular area is protected by the local people or the government for the easy translocation of the wild animal, that is corridor. So even if there is no forest, if you protect that area, if you give good protection to the animal, that becomes a corridor. And from south to north, each and every part we can connect through this corridor. And corridor need not be a forest all the time. But yes, corridor we can protect.
Have you seen any impact of climate change on our ecosystems?
It's a big question and it will require a big answer. But yes, everybody is seeing a impact on climate change. Whatever the wrong things that we have done, that is really creating a problem. Earlier, when I gave an example of this Honduras, what was that? That was an example of climate change only. Yes, all the wrongdoings, they have been reflected in the climate change.
Is there still hope to relocate, conserve the Maldok in the Great Indian Bustard in Maharashtra?
Yes, it is there. In fact, we were trying to have a captive breeding center in Pune. But at present, what has happened is our earlier Maldok sanctuary, which was more than 8,000 square kilometer in area, that has been reduced to 366 square kilometer. And that was the right step because forest area is only 363 square kilometer. Maldok doesn't recognize where is a forest land or non-forest land. When they go out, they always will be in non-forest area. For mating purpose only, they come to the forest area. Unfortunately, they are not coming to the forest areas for last 10 years. And we are sure if we protect our habitat of Nanas and Srigonda, these areas, certainly one day Maldok will be back and they will definitely lay the eggs. At present, we are banking on the Rajasthan government because they have started captive breeding program in Jaisalmer. And once they get good number of Maldoks over there, I'm sure that they will give some Maldoks to us for soft release in our areas. But Maldok will be back in Maharashtra.
Sunil, in the same vein, may I request you to say something about the vultures population restoration projects which we have undertaken successfully?
Right. See, we have got these two types of vulture over here. One is called as long-billed vulture and another is called as white-backed vulture. The main problem of the vulture population to survive was the use of diclofenac by the veterinary officer when they used to treat the cattle. Now, Maharashtra government and the government of India has totally banned diclofenac. We don't allow veterinary doctors to use the diclofenac. They are also not using it. That slowly vulture population is regaining. At the same time, what we had started a project called as Restraw for vultures. Wherever we used to get the carcass of the animal, we keep it in the open, in the forest areas for the vultures, and vultures have started coming back. So protecting their own habitat, giving some time to the vultures to recoup, it is really helping. And again, the population of white-backed vulture and long-billed vulture, it's regaining in Maharashtra.
Please mention some areas where this was done.
You can go to the Srivardhan area. You will able to see this vulture restaurant. You can go to the Fansad Sanctuary in Raigad. It is there. In all Western Ghats and in Western Maharashtra, we have got many places where the vultures are coming. Even if you go to the Tamini, we have got this white-backed vulture and they are also coming back. You go to Vadgama area, you will able to see all these vultures. That means white-backed vulture over there and long-billed vulture in our Western Ghat areas.
So the sum and substance of this project is like, if we go ahead with proper planning, we can restore the...
Yes, certainly. We can restore because we have to first see that their habitat is there, habitat is restored, and Because when people and veterinary officer, they were using diclofenac to treat the cattle. When cattle used to die, vultures also used to die when used to feed on the carcass of the animal which died because of diclofenac. Now, as we have stopped the use of diclofenac, the cattle, they are not dying because of diclofenac. The vultures are also not dying. So slowly this population is regaining, and a very big project by government of India has been taken place in Haryana, and they are already doing captive breeding of these vultures. And once these vultures are coming to a certain level of population, these vultures are being released in wild. So in Maharashtra, the same thing is happening. We are taking care of the habitat, and the vultures are slowly regaining.
How does Forest Department Forest Protection Act differentiate between grasslands, scrublands, and thorn forest?
No, what exactly you want? How does Forest Protection Act
How-
differentiate between? No, Forest Protection Act doesn't differentiate between any kind of grassland, scrubland, thorn forest. Everything has been termed as a forest only. When it's a forest area, it has to be used for forest purpose. That's what Act says. And if you want to use any such kind of forest, whether it's a grassland, scrubland, or thorn forest, permission from the central government has to be taken for doing any kind of non-forestry activity. So that is the only difference that the law does. Nothing more than that.
Asha Patalkar, we will answer your question separately. What kind of trees are being plants to increase?
What kind of trees are being planted to increase the forest cover?
Forest cover.
Nowadays, our aim is to increase tree cover. So we are saying that we are not going for the exotic trees. We are going for the indigenous trees only. If you see all the indigenous trees, neem, all the fruit trees, all the ficus trees, that we are taking care of, and we are using all these trees to plant. Any kind of exotic tree.
Is Miyawaki technique for forest development effective on farmland? I took 2 days course from Forest Set.
No, it is perfect. Miyawaki is a good technique. What Makira Miyawaki has started. This is called as brain forestry plantation. Maharashtra government is also coming over. This is called as Atal Ghanavana Yojana. And even you know the Baba, his granddaughter Sheetal, she has done a lot of good things about this Miyawaki in Anandwan area of Varora. Initial cost is high, but definitely it's a good strategy to go for a Miyawaki plantation.
We have seen numerous plants, saplings drive over the years, but their survival is not kept in check. Is there any plan for same to help them survive?
Kunal, this is the half truth that you are aware of, because we have done the plantation. We have got the GIS tagging of the areas. We are monitoring this plantation, and the result is pretty good. But at the same time, pressure on these areas where we have planted is tremendous. That's why you must be seeing that if you go to the roadside, railway side, many times you see that the plants have died, but we are taking due care. We are replacing the plant, and in the last 3 years, plantation survival is pretty good.
Well, there are compliments, and we observe in plateau and forest sudden fire take place, and it is difficult to cease fire immediately. How the forest department and the site observer communicate with each other to protect and curtail such incidents to conserve the forest?
Yes, fire is a big problem for us. I told you we have got a helpline that is called as 1926. Many times people send us the messages. Then my people, that the forest department people, they go there. We get regular alerts from the Forest Research Institute and NASA also. As soon as we get alerts on the mobile phones, all the guard, forester, and all the foresters, their mobile phones have been registered with the FRI. And whenever we get a message, all the people go there. After 15th of February till 15th of June, at every nook and corner, we have got our teams which will go to the forest and which will extinguish the forest. Before 15 February, everywhere we take the fire lines, we divide our forest in small patches, and the area is burned in the lines. Those are called the fire lines. That means if a fire takes place in a particular patch, it won't spread to other patch, and minimum damage is being done. So forest department is taking a lot of care for this fire protection work.
Can tigers be relocated to Tansa?
Can tigers be relocated to Tansa? Yes, they can be relocated. When we'll think of relocating it to the Western Ghats, first thing we will relocate is the Sahyadri Tiger Reserve. Then we can think of relocating to Tansa. But after 1929, in our areas of Thane, Palghar and Mumbai suburban, there was no tiger. So this area will be on the last priority. But yes, it's possible.
So don't you think zoos should be banned as they infringe upon the animal rights?
No. See, you have to see why zoos have been created. Zoos have been created for the awareness and for the people to know what kind of animals are there, how they survive. If zoos are managed properly, zoos are the best place where we can educate the people. But everybody cannot go to the forest. Everybody cannot go to the protected areas. Only most important thing that one has to observe is to protect these animals and to keep them in good health. And if that is being done, yes, zoos will help definitely.
What is the future of Tipeshwar Tiger Reserve? You just shared a beautiful...
It's a simple thing. Future is very bright. It's a fantastic area. It's a big area. At present, there is 1 male tiger, 4 females, and 9 cubs. And it has a bright future. It's quite possible that area may be declared as a tiger reserve.
A person from Talpatan, it is located in Sahyadri Tiger Reserve catchment area. Sir, is there any plan for conservative measure for wolf and what plan for wildlife tourism?
See, at present, conservation for wolf is being done on the Deccan Plateau in Pune area, Saswad, Supe area, then Nanas, I said. And Sahyadri Tiger Reserve, yes, we are trying for the tourism because see, biggest problem about the Sahyadri Tiger Reserve is the undulating terrain. It's our Sahyadri area, so very few roads are there, but we are trying to create some more roads in that area, and within next 2-3 years, good kind of ecotourism, and that is wildlife tourism, will be started in Sahyadri Tiger Reserve.
In this lockdown, we have seen more news of poaching. Is any proposal to change Wildlife Act put forward by forest officials?
No, this is also not true that more news of poaching was there, because in the first 2 months of the lockdown period, on the contrary, animal kingdom thrived pretty well. It got itself regained. But in the next 2 months, when the easing of lockdown was done, yes, there were news that people had started getting inside the forest areas for poaching. But forest department was alert, police department was alert. We started using drone also. So number of cases during this period have not increased. On the contrary, they have decreased. And at present, there is no proposal to change the Wildlife Act as such. But many times people suggest that certain animal has to be included in the certain schedule. So such kind of things keeps on coming. And it's quite possible after some time, some amendments may take place in Wildlife Act. But at present, there is no proposal to change the Wildlife Act.
Can agricultural patches become ecosystems? Yes, they are cropland ecosystems.
Yeah, they are.
They may have rotational cropping patterns.
Yes, you can have rotational cropping pattern. Agriculture lands are typical ecosystem. When I said the terrestrial ecosystem, agriculture is also ecosystem.
How one can make career in wildlife? Because I have done bachelor's in zoology, very fascinated to work for wildlife and especially with SGMP.
A simple answer is there. You have to appear for the examination, give the examination, appear for MPSC, UPSC, join the forest department. If it is not possible, if you don't want to come to the government service, you can go to Wildlife Institute of India. There are a certain number of NGOs who are working for the betterment of wildlife. You can join them. And that is the best idea. Or you can work with the forest department. Nowadays, we've got a lot of tiger foundations. We've got 6 tiger foundations. We require good people as a biologist to work in forest area. So either you can join forest department through MPSC or UPSC, or you can join NGOs or the tiger foundations.
I'll put this question in brief. Is there any tree species dying out because of any reasons, diseases or otherwise in Western Ghats? Native tree population.
Just one. I mean about the die-off. Yes, die-off is there. There are certain species which die off. But if you wait for some time, the root system grows pretty well. So first year it will die off, second year it will die off. It happens in teak also. But after 3 years, if you give good protection, in spite of dying that tree, the root system is fine. Once the tap root system grows pretty well, once again the tree regains. So giving the protection of particular tree species is the best thing when the trees are dying off.
Why forest department is not able to fence and protect the forest borders from encroachment, for example, SGNP?
So that's a very typical question that many people ask me. It is just not possible to fence each and every forest patch because it's a pretty big area. But as far as Sanjay Gandhi National Park is concerned, this total is 104 square kilometers, and we have got to fence around 80 meters of the forest area, out of which 40 kilometers has been fenced with the strong stone wall. But you know, a lot of slums are there, anti-soil elements are there. Whenever you will construct a wall, they will break the wall, they will get in, and that's a regular problem. But yes, we have got a plan to have a 80-kilometer long stone wall all around Sanjay Gandhi National Park.
What is the plan for rare trees which have medicinal importance?
Yes, we have got this plan. 10% of all the plantation that we do, we normally go for the species which have got the medicinal values. To be frank enough, I will tell you, all the forest species, they have got some or other medicinal value. But at the most of the time, when you go for the plantation, 10% of the species that which normally we select which has got a regular medicinal importance. And all the species normally we consult Ayurvedic doctors, peoples, NGOs. We have done a good work on these medicinal plants, and we take such species for our plantation program.
Can you tell us how many tigers were shot down during colonial period, and some hides are still lying on the ground in English clubs today?
Manfred Stovall, I'm really sorry. You can ask Google Uncle, and Google Uncle will give you the right answer.
What is the effect of tunnel planned through SGNP from Thane to Borivali?
No, that is there. It is from Borivali to Thane. They are planning to have a twin tube tunnel, but it has not been decided. A proposal has been made. It will go to the state government, state wildlife board. Discussion will take place. Now there are two things. As a layman, if you ask, people will say why you want a tunnel down below the Sanjay Gandhi National Park. But if you see the traffic over there, some good measures have been suggested. But I think within next 1 year, a right decision will be taken whether such twin tube tunnel is required or not. But there is a proposal. Yes, at present there is a proposal.
Yeah, I think all the questions are over.
Yeah, that's great. And even you can share my number. If still anybody has any question or especially any suggestions, yes, they can contact me. And I have already given you one number, that is 1926, that is 24/7 forest land. Definitely you can give your suggestion on that number also.
Do you want to share your email ID instead?
No, definitely. Especially my office email ID, that is APCM, you can definitely share.
Yeah, I think that will be better because...
yeah, definitely you can share my mobile number and email address. Yes.
Phone could be slightly difficult. APCCF. I will type it out here and you can share it. Let me at the same time, Sunil, thank you very much. That was a beautiful session. And I wish you could show as a closing remark, you can share the beautiful photograph from Tippeshwar, the tiger family.
Oh, that is today's photograph.
Yeah.
How I will able to?
No.
Any of my expert son is here. Just I will ask him whether I can share that today.
Yeah, if
it's there in my mobile. Just I will check. That's a tiger. That's a male tiger. Just 1 minute. I will show you. It's possible. Because when my son says possible, yes, it's possible.
Okay, here is the...
he is showing you.
Here is his email ID I have given you. If you find something about something going wrong somewhere, you can definitely inform him on this email ID, and I can assure you he responds. Also at the same time, let me tell you, next Sunday at 5 o'clock, we will be having a lecture on Mumbai, the mathematician. Let me share the screen, please, host.
Yes, ma'am, you can share.
Just 1 minute. Huh? That tiger is coming. Tippeshwar tiger.
Till then. So this is the lecture we are having next Monday. Professor Dr. Emin Bahia is a great speaker, and he is a mathematician. He is an astrophysicist, theoretical astrophysicist, and he is going to look at Mumbai from a mathematician's point of view. And this, I have seen the PPT, so I can assure you it's very interesting. Nobody has done it so far, and people who love Mumbai and people who would like to know about how to look at Mumbai from a mathematical point of view would be just very happy to listen to Dr. Bahia. We'll be sharing the Zoom link just as we shared it today on your emails and then on the day of the lecture on Facebook. Yeah, so please be there next Sunday also. Shall I stop sharing? Is your picture ready? So
Yeah. Tippeshwar tiger has come there. You can show them.
Very good.
And that's a male tiger that is called as Star, and it's a female tiger with the cubs. So male tiger is there, cub is there, and then female is also there.
And
So
what
it's
is he doing to him? Is that the female tiger leaning?
yeah,
above
female
him?
is there, then cub is there, and then male is there. Whole family is there at the Tippeshwar pond.
So I think this is it's a beautiful note to end this lecture on. Thank you, Sunil, very much. And if something comes to your head that you need to share with people, please, InstaSense platform is there, ready for you.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mugdha.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Shall we end the meeting?
Yeah, please.